hearing John Lynch on the Dimitrov podcast, one of the things he said was that when him and Kyle got the job, they sat down and made a list of what is our football philosophy and what are we about? Like, what are our core beliefs about how you build a football team? And because of the teams that he played on and the Tampa team and Warren Sapp, and one of the things they agreed on was one of our core beliefs is building up the defensive line. Like, that's really important, building for the middle. I had somebody else tell me this the other day. They were making the case that they think edge rushers are overrated, which is not a case a lot of people make. And their point was a guy like Aaron Donald is more valuable than Myles Garrett, partly because he's in the middle of your defense. And the middle, you should build the middle of your defense, kind of the way people talk about football.
Well, how many good defensive tackle pass rushing?
Yeah, there are, exactly. But his point was just the best guy in the middle is more valuable to you than the best guy on the edge. The best middle linebacker is more valuable to you than the best. He didn't say the best middle linebacker. I'm putting words. But his point was Aaron Donald's more valuable than Myles Garrett. That was kind of his point. But the Niners, say what you want. They've nailed some picks. They've whiffed on some picks. Some of the picks we thought were good and then turned out to be bad. Some of the picks we thought were bad and were bad. But they have not strayed from what they believe in at all. And partly, I think it's because of the way they've had success, it's only reinforced what they believe in.
I think the greatest strength, and you and I talked about this before we jumped on, if you could build an ideal coach from scratch, he would be an offensive play caller who really values defense and values the trenches.
And specifically toughness, defensive toughness, right?
Yeah, and that's really one thing the 49ers, in 2 of their 3 years when they've been good, they have really hit people on defense. Where I disagree, I think corners are overrated. And I think corners are overrated in the sense, if you can dominate up front and have an incredible pass rush and have a dominant front, and the Niners now are going to roll into this season. Think about this. Nick Bosa, number 2 overall pick. Javon Kinlaw, number 14th overall pick. Eric Armstead, I think he was like 15 or 17 or something, mid-first round pick. And just a blue chip body. Like Kinlaw and Armstead are 2 of the better looking guys getting off the bus in the National Football League, right? I mean, honestly, I bet they're both guys, top 10 NFL guys getting off the bus, like Jordan Davis. They'd be on the short list. I mean, Eric Armstead, when he made the 49ers pick for Drake Jackson, you're like, Jesus, guy's enormous. Every time you see him, God, this guy's huge. And credit to him, he's real. You and I were talking about this yesterday on the stream. Like, he's really become a really good player for them. Drake Jackson, like they re-sign Hyder. They have other guys. Their defensive line coach, I think, non-offense, is their best position coach. You could argue he's just the best true position coach on their team right now. That unit can overcome, like, okay, Ambry Thomas, and if Lenore starts playing and just some random corners, they drafted a kid in the 5th round, whatever. You can have average corners if the Niners defensive line is just dominant. And I think Kyle knows that. And that's why they drafted Jake Jackson really high. If Kinlaw can just become a contributing member, I mean, they could all of a sudden, I mean, they have a lot invested into that group, guy. If Drake Jackson is the lowest rounded guy that's going to be in like the top 5 guys that they have, think about that.
I would add one other part to it, because we've seen them playing a lot of big games, and these situations come up all the time in the playoffs. And I know it's all about getting to the quarterback because it's a throwing league. But if you can stop the run in crunch time, it changes big games. Almost every playoff game, it's 4 minutes left, and it's like, well, the defense has no timeouts left, or the defense has 1 timeout left. Can the offense pick up a first down here without throwing the football? 2 minutes left. How many times does it come up in big games that the Niners play? How are these last 2.5 minutes going to play out? Can they run the football or not? It's critical. Again, we're stating obvious things, but these are the basics. And I think the point is the Niners established what their basics were. This organization, John and Kyle, established what their basics were, and they've stuck to their basics. And part of it is just their football upbringing, right? Mike Shanahan, ass kicker. John Lynch, ass kicker. Kyle Shanahan grew up watching an ass kicker's team, and his dad had the personality of an ass kicker, right?
Yeah, even though he's
ass kickers.
Yeah.
Like, they value that because it's not – everyone knows it's not a soft sport, but part of it is just – I love hearing offensive linemen talk. It's just, can I bully the person in front of me? Which is what the sport at the most basic level comes down to.
The Niners' best defenses, like to me, the Harbaugh defenses were probably a little better than that 19 defense. Obviously, the 19 defense, I think, was better than this year. Beside Richard Sherman, who had an all-pro season in 19, they have not had great cornerback play. But both teams, the 19 team...
Verrett had a good year, right? 2 years ago.
In 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could argue like, so they've had Sherman in 19, Verrett in 20. Carlos Rogers had a couple solid years for Balky and Harbaugh, but like they really hung their hat on their front seven being unstoppable. You can't run. And the other thing, they can get pressure at a moment's notice. And at any moment, the quarterback, whether you're playing Stafford, whether you're playing Eli Manning or Rodgers or Brady, they're just under duress. So it's like, okay, even if you don't have Richard Sherman out there and you just have a couple Ambry Thomases, and Ambry might turn out to be a solid starter for a couple years. Hell, he might get paid or whatever. But right now, I don't think we can view him as like anything more than average, which is fine. I think you can win with average corners and Jimmy Ward flying around if your front seven is annihilating people. You cannot run the ball on me. And if it's 3rd and 8, I can drop my linebackers who are all athletic, roam around in space, and those 4 guys are fucking coming. 2 of them are enormous up the middle, so they're going to have their hands up. And then I got Bosa and Drake Jackson or Hyder or whoever coming off the other side. Good luck. Because the other thing we know, there are only so many Trent Williams in this league. Most teams is like have below average tackle somewhere, and many teams don't feel good about either tackle.
But a good quarterback with a good coach who throws the ball quickly can be problematic.
Yeah, but if you dominate up front, like you can dictate the terms. And that's what they did in 19. That's what Harbaugh did. And that to me is the mindset of this team. Now you're asking, obviously Kinlaw's got to start bringing something. Drake Jackson's going to be a rookie. Like they're going to depend on some unknowns, but they have a couple core. When you have a couple core pieces to me in your front seven, it's so much easier for other guys to just kind of blend in, And then one thing we know with the defensive line coach, there's just going to be some random guy you've never heard of, like give him 7 sacks. They've done that over and over and over again.